Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be doing what if Naruto was a Senju. And soon I will, do either the Kaguya series or the half Uchiha and half Senju series. So yeah, and anyways, without further ado, let's get started. I might do that probably after this part of the series, of the Senju series. Because I really need to, I haven't forgotten about the redo series for the Hyuga series, but I just don't have time really at all, so yeah. But anyways, let's just get started. We left off when Mizuki left the village to go to Orochimaru's place. He told Orochimaru to train him. Orochimaru, instead of training him, he gave him a power boost. He gave him the curse mark. Mizuki would feel this surge of power in him, and he felt like he's the most powerful person on the world right now. Then Mizuki would thank Orochimaru, and then he would leave. Mizuki would start learning on how to use this power of his. He would put chakra into his curse seal. Then all of a sudden, you'll see marks on his arms and his whole body. And his body kept on getting in a shape like a tiger. Now you might be thinking this is probably like the filler in the original Naruto. No, this isn't gonna be that same curse mark like in the original Naruto. No, it's gonna be a little bit more different. So then Mizuki would try to go into another level in this power. Mizuki would go into a tiger form with claws, and he will have a massive tail too, and his chakra levels boosted. His strength was so high also. At this point, Mizuki is about a mid-jonin level. Then Mizuki can't believe that he got this much power. And then Mizuki would start training with this power, trying to use it. But then he also remembered that he can't use this power a lot, or else the curse mark will eat away himself, and he'll never return to his form, to his normal form. So then Mizuki would deactivate the curse mark. Then Mizuki would start training on his body, trying to get stronger in order to get revenge on the Hidden Leaf. Well, not really revenge. He's just against the Hidden Leaf, basically. Now let's go to Naruto's perspective. Naruto would go back home. Minato would confront Naruto on why he stole the scroll of sealing. Naruto would tell him that Mizuki told him to take the scroll of sealing, and that it wasn't breaking the law, and that, he will become a lot more stronger. Then Minato would say, fine, but because of this, we're going to take your training a lot seriously, and you're not allowed to eat Ichiraku ramen for a week. Naruto would take this as a humongous punishment. Naruto would keep on complaining to his father that, can you make it a little less, serious, please? Minato would say, no. Now, show me what you've written in that scroll. Naruto was like, wait, what? How did you know? Minato would tell him, oh, you think I'm dumb, Naruto? I'm your father, and I'm the one who actually let you get the scroll. Then Naruto would say, wait, what? How? Minato would say, I could have gotten you easily when I was chasing you. But I wanted to see what would happen if you learned a couple of new jutsu in that scroll. Then Naruto would say, okay, but then why did you tell Anbu to start looking for me? Then Minato would say, I don't want you to learn that much stuff in that scroll because there are so much forbidden jutsus that are really serious and no one should be able to learn. Then Naruto would say, okay. But then Minato would say, okay, I'll try to teach you this jutsu that you written down. Then Naruto would say, what jutsu? What jutsu is it? Then Minato would go through a couple hand signs. And he would show Naruto the wood-style wood dragon jutsu. The wood dragon would come out of the ground. It was so humongous. Naruto was shocked by the size of this wood dragon. Then Naruto can't believe that he had possession of this type of jutsu. And then Naruto would tell Minato, wow, I can't believe I actually have possession of this jutsu. I can't wait to learn this. And then Minato would say, whoa. It will take a lot of time to get your wood dragon to this level. Then Naruto would say, what? But how? It takes a lot of practice in order to create a wood dragon this big and powerful. But once you do make your wood dragon to this level, which is the highest level, it can even go after the 9 tails inside of you. Then Naruto would be shocked. And he can't believe that actually this wood dragon can compete with the 9 tails. Then Naruto would say, but can it beat the 9 tails? And then Minato would say, no, it can't beat the 9 tails. Even if the 9 tails split in half, which you only have half of the 9 tails, even just half of it can't defeat the 9 tails. So then Naruto would say, oh, that's a bummer. But at least it's a powerful jutsu, right? Then Minato would say, yes, this is a very powerful jutsu. Then Naruto would start going through a couple hand signs, and he would be yelling out, wood style, wood dragon jutsu. And then he would try to create a wood dragon. But this wood dragon was very, very small. And it would come out the ground, and it would be just like a really small wood dragon. And it was like 2 times shorter than a average wood dragon. And Naruto would say, hey, is that alright? And then Minato would say, that is actually a very good size for your age. But mine is still way bigger. Mine is 6 times bigger than yours. And you're only 2 times lower than just an average one for like a jonin. And then Naruto would be angry, and he kept on trying to do this jutsu, but he kept on getting the same result over and over again. But then a couple of days will go by, and then Naruto would realize this is the day go to the academy to check what he needs to do, in just because he just became a genin. So he would go to the academy, go to a room where he was supposed to go, but then all of a sudden he'll see his past classmates that he had in the academy. Naruto's pretty confused on what's going on, but he would sit right next to Sasuke. Sasuke would be pissed, and he doesn't like Naruto at all. Then Sakura and Ino would come in, and then they would be arguing that they came in the door first, but they weren't even first because there were many people that came in the classroom before them. Then Sakura would start heading to Sasuke's direction, and Naruto would say, "Hi, Sakura," and then Sakura would push Naruto out of the sea. Then Naruto would hit his head on the ground. Then he would be in pain and saying, "What was that for, Sakura?" Then Sakura would tell Sasuke, Sasuke, may I sit right next to you?" Sasuke wouldn't care, and he didn't even listen to what Sakura said. He was just thinking in his thoughts, like always. But Sakura would just sit there anyways, because Sasuke didn't give her a response. Then Naruto would sit in a separate seat, and then Iruka would come into the classroom, and he would say, settle down, class. Now, I'll be explaining your teams, a 3-man squad. And then people in the classroom would be shocked, and they thought that they were doing all of this alone. And then Sakura would be thinking a 3-man squad, and then Naruto would say, hopefully I'm not on the same team as that Sasuke kid. And then Sasuke then would say, if Naruto's on my team, then I can show him in person my skills, my true skills, and I'll be able to defeat him if I train hard enough. Naruto doesn't want to be really on Sasuke's team. He just wants to get on a team by himself. But then Yuka would go through a couple of teams, then he will eventually reach Team 7. You're going to say Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, or Naruto Senju. So let's just say Naruto Senju. Naruto Senju. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto was angry. Sasuke doesn't really want to be on Naruto's team, but he kind of wants to show Naruto, like that he's stronger than him, even though he's not. Then you would say, Sakura Haruno. Sakura would be happy because she's on the same team as Sasuke. And then Iruka would tell who are the people on like separate teams and stuff. And then he would tell Team 7 to go to this specific room. They would go to this room, and then they would start waiting for their sensei. Hours passed by. Man, how long is this sensei whatever gonna be here? Like, when is he gonna come? Naruto would be just bored, but then he would think of course, a prank. He would set an eraser right next to the door by opening the door a little bit. Then finally, their sensei would come. He would open the door, but then the eraser would hit the sensei's head. Then Naruto would start laughing. Then Sakura would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sensei. I tried to stop Naruto." But then they would see the sensei's face, and this is Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi would pick up the eraser. Then Kakashi would say, my first impression of this team is that you guys are a bunch of idiots." Then all of them would have an annoyed face on them. But then Kakashi then would say, "Okay, you guys, meet me on the roof." And then Kakashi would poof. Then Naruto would know this as maybe a shadow clone jutsu. Then Naruto then would say, this sensei, I think he's a little bit familiar. I think I've seen this person before. Then Naruto and Team 7 would walk on top of the roof and then would eventually get there. Then they would see Kakashi there, sitting down on the ground. Then Kakashi would say, "Oh, there you guys are. Come on, sit down." They would sit down, and then Kakashi then would say, "All right, tell me your names, your dreams, your hobbies, your likes, your dislikes. Just tell me about yourself, basically." Then you would say, "Oh, you, in the black spiky hair, you go first." Then Naruto would say, "I'm Naruto Senju. My dream is to become the greatest Hokage. Believe it." And then the rest of this stuff would just basically be the same. Basically, just Naruto's is just basically the same, basically. And then Sakura's would basically be the same as Sasuke, basically. Then Kakashi then would say, "All right, now, tomorrow at 5 a.m., meet me at this particular training ground. And also, do not eat breakfast." Then Kakashi would poof. And then Naruto then would realize that was another shadow clone jutsu. Then Naruto would get to his house. And then he would basically start training on the wood dragon jutsu. But then Minato would see this. And then he would tell Naruto to stop training on the wood dragon jutsu. Then Naruto would say, "Why?" And then Minato would say, "How about you start training on some little bit lower class jutsu?" But then Naruto would say, "No, I want to learn this high class jutsu. Believe it." And then Minato would have a sigh. But then he would show Naruto a couple hand signs. Then he would say, "Earth style, multi-earth wall." And then multiple giant earth walls would be shown. Naruto would be surprised, and they're pretty huge also. And then Naruto would say, Can you teach me this jutsu actually?" And then Minato would say, "See, I told you would like this jutsu." Then Naruto would start doing this jutsu. It would take him about a lot of hours until he could make at least decent earth walls, basically. And then Naruto was happy that he was able to master the jutsu. And then he would wake up at 4:30 a.m. And, of course, he remembered that he can't eat breakfast. So he would skip breakfast and then get ready, and then he would head to the training ground. And then on the way, he would see Sasuke and Sakura walking to the training ground as well. And then they would eventually arrive. And then they'll end up waiting still for hours And then finally, of course, Kakashi would arrive. Then he would see Naruto and Sakura just sleeping on the ground while Sasuke was still awake. And then he would say, all right, you two, get up. Then Naruto would wake up, and then he would see Kakashi. Then he would tell Kakashi, why did you not arrive early or on time? And then Kakashi then would say, well, I saw a black cat on my previous route, so I had to take the long way. Naruto was irritated, but then he would say, fine. And then Kakashi would say, alright, it's set for noon. 3, 2, 1. But then before he could say begin, Naruto would start running at Kakashi, trying to land a hit on him. But Kakashi then would catch this fist, and then he would grab Naruto's arm and then headlock him and put a kunai to his neck. Then he would say, I didn't say start yet. Then Naruto would be irritated. And then he would say, come on, can we just start already? And then Kakashi would say, we'll start until I say begin. And then you would release Naruto. Then Naruto would back up. And then Kakashi would say, alright, let's do this right now. 3, 2, 1, begin. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura would jump up in the air. But then Naruto would appear behind Kakashi. Then he would say, alright, me and you, fair and square. Let's have a fight. Believe it. Then Naruto would start using wood attacks. Then he would yell out, wood style, strike attack. And then he would send a stream of wood, basically, trying to hit Kakashi or trying to grab him. Kakashi didn't expect that Naruto already knew wood style. So then Kakashi would start jumping in the air, trying to, dodge all these, wood logs thrown at him, send it at him. And then Naruto then would try to, hit Kakashi with a water-style water bullet jutsu. Kakashi would counter this with a fire-style fireball jutsu. This fireball would completely obliterate the water bullet, and it would keep on going to Naruto. Then Naruto would yell out, Earth-style, mud wall. And then a mud wall would appear, and it would protect Naruto from the fireball. And then, since the fireball had to go through the water bullet, so it's a little bit weaker, and the earth wall was able to protect Naruto from the fireball. But then Kakashi was surprised, and was thinking that Minato's son isn't that bad. And then Kakashi then would start running at Naruto, and he would stop reading his book, and then he would run at Naruto, trying to strike him with the kunai. Naruto would dodge this, and then Naruto would yell out, wood style, wood dragon jutsu. And then Kakashi would hear these words, and his eyes would widen. But it wasn't a humongous wood dragon like his sensei's. And Kakashi was thankful that it wasn't that big. And then the wood dragon would start heading at Kakashi, and Kakashi would try to dodge this, and he would, but then the wood dragon would go behind Kakashi, and then it would actually hold Kakashi in place. And then it would start absorbing some of Kakashi's chakra. And then Kakashi then would say, dang it, it's absorbing my chakra. I need to get out of this now. So he would activate his three-tone Sharingan, and then he would completely slice through the wood dragon jutsu like it's nothing. But then he would pull down his headband because he doesn't want to waste any chakra. And that he just wants to end this over here. But then Naruto was thinking that he's not losing this. Naruto would make like a cross with his hands, and this would be, of course, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. He would summon about 200 Shadow Clones. They would all start running at Kakashi, and then they would all create fire style fireball jutsus, and they would create one humongous fireball. Kakashi was like, okay, this is not that bad. But then the fireball would start heading at Kakashi. Kakashi would activate his Sharingan, and he would completely dodge this humongous fireball. And then Kakashi would yell out Water Dragon Jutsu. A humongous water dragon would start sending at the Naruto clones, completely destroying all of them. And then Naruto would yell out, Water Style, Water Wall. And then the Water Wall would start going at this Water Dragon Jutsu. And the Water Wall would protect Naruto from the Water Dragon Jutsu, because of course the Water Style Water Wall is stronger than the Water Dragon Jutsu. Kakashi was pretty surprised that Naruto knew this jutsu, because this is an S rank jutsu. The water wall jutsu. And then Naruto then would yell out Fire Style, Fire Dragon Jutsu. He would send a Fire Dragon at Kakashi. Kakashi would go through a couple hand signs, and he would say Water Style, Water Vortex Jutsu. And then a humongous wave of water would be sent at the fire dragon. It would completely obliterate the fire dragon. It would hit Naruto, and Naruto would be sent flying to that, lake that was near the training grounds. And the entire, basically, training grounds was filled with water. Sakura and Sasuke were seeing this, and they can't believe that they were doing these types of attacks. And then Naruto would get out of the lake, and then Naruto would go through a couple hand signs. It would send wood at Kakashi, trying to capture him. Then Kakashi would keep on dodging all these wood attacks with his Sharingan, and then Kakashi then would yell out Fire Style, Fire Dragon Jutsu. And then the Fire Dragon would go through all of the wood, and then it would start heading for Naruto, because wood can, of course, catch on fire. So it can, catch on fire easily. And the fireball was also collecting its fire from the wood. So the fireball jutsu was still normal. And then it was going after Naruto. Then Naruto would yell out, Earth Style, Multi-Earth Walls. And then a bunch of not giant, just a bunch of mud walls would appear. And then it would protect Naruto from the fireball. And then Kakashi then would say, this kid isn't actually that bad. But then Sasuke would think that Kakashi had his guard down. But so he would basically throw Shuriken and Kunai. But he doesn't know that Kakashi has the Sharingan, and that his guard was also never down. So then Kakashi would easily dodge all his Shuriken and Kunai. And then he would know Sasuke's location. And then he would start running after Sasuke, trying to get him first. And then he would go after Sakura after Sasuke. Kakashi would get to Sasuke. And then Kakashi wouldn't think that Sasuke is as powerful. So he would put down his headband. And then Kakashi would start going into taijutsu fight with Sasuke. Sasuke would try to get the bells, but he wouldn't, of course, just like in canon. And then he would do the fire style fireball jutsu. Kakashi, of course, would go underground and take Sasuke underground. And then he would put Sakura under, like, a D-rank jutsu. And then Kakashi would start looking for Naruto. And then Naruto would be at the same exact spot. But Naruto is as dumb as canon. So when Kakashi wasn't there, he created 1,000 shadow clones, and they hid in the bushes basically, and he tried to do a surprise attack, and some of them also hid in the lake. And then Naruto then would say, "All right, let's end this here." Then Kakashi say, "All right." Then he would put up his headband, and then Naruto would notice an eye, but then Kakashi would get him, would put him under a genjutsu. But Naruto doesn't know that he's under a genjutsu. Then Naruto then would say, "All right, I'm going to beat you right here and now." Then he would start heading at Kakashi, trying to strike him with a kunai. But then he would actually hit Kakashi. But then Kakashi would release Naruto out of the genjutsu. Then actually Naruto was tied to a tree. And then Naruto would say, "Well, what? How?" Then Kakashi would say, "When you looked into my eye, I placed you under a genjutsu." Then Naruto would say, "Genjutsu?" But then Naruto would have a smirk on his face. And then he would say to Kakashi, "Oh, the fight isn't over yet." And then so much shadow clones would appear, and they would all yell out, "Water style, water vortex jutsu!" And then a humongous wave of water would appear, and they would also create wood dragon jutsus. And the reason why Naruto was able to create this much chakra is because, of course, Uzumaki and Senju, and he's, of course, a Jinchuriki, so Naruto would have a lot more chakra in this, and basically a humongous stream of chakra would appear, and it would create like a tsunami, basically. And then Kakashi was shocked. He can't believe that Naruto was able to do this. But at this point, because of that, Naruto is basically out of chakra. And he would think that this is ultimate attack. And then one of the shadow clones freed Naruto out of the thing. And then a humongous wave of chakra would appear. Kakashi can't dodge this because this is way too big. And he thought that he should actually finish Naruto's first, other than Sasuke and Sakura. So then this wave would hit Kakashi, would try to go after Kakashi, and then Sasuke and Sakura would wake up, and then they would see this humongous wave, and then they would start running, and then Minato would sense this humongous amount of chakra, and then he would send Anbu to that area, and then Anbu would get there, and they would see a humongous wave, and then they would think, how on earth did a tsunami get this far? And then they thought that, like, that tsunami came from, like, the ocean, basically. And then the tsunami would go through so much trees, destroying everything in its path. And then it would hit Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, and also, of course, Naruto. And people in Ninja were heading to that area, trying to save everyone there. And then everything would be completely destroyed. Part of the village was also destroyed because of that tsunami. And then Naruto then would say, after that, that humongous tsunami that destroyed basically the village, not the village, but like a tiny part of the village, and destroyed like the outside of the village and stuff, and the forest, would say, "Oh man, that was an amazing attack." Then Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke would be unconscious. And then Kakashi, before he went unconscious, would say, "Naruto is a chakra monster." And then he would pass out then. And then Anbu would get to where Sasuke and Sakura are. And he would say, "How on earth would you do that type of attack? This is just a Genin exam, not a real life war." And then Naruto would say, "Did you like that jutsu?" And then Naruto would say, then they would say, "That was a powerful jutsu, but never use that jutsu, that technique or jutsu ever again." And then they would take them to the hospital. And then, of course, but then they would be fine after a couple of days. Minato would get to Naruto. Then he would tell Naruto, "Don't do that jutsu ever again. Should never do that." Sorry about that. I just sneezed. So yeah. And then basically, Naruto would be not depressed, but he would just be sad, and he realized that he could have risked their lives basically, and he could have actually killed them. And Naruto was kind of sad, and then Minato would basically just head to his office, and Naruto then would start walking in the village, just kind of sad, and he just doesn't know what to do with himself, and he knew that it was probably all of his fault, and no, he knew it was his fault. And then Naruto would go to the Hokage Mountain, just sitting on the Hokage Mountain. He was just in his thoughts, just thinking that what could have happened. And that's where we'll leave it off today's video. Hope you guys like this part. I kind of enjoy this part, actually. So yeah, I know it's a long part, so yeah. And anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Well, for the end. Whatever.